I'm Jordan Moore alongside my guy Sean Cody. Good to be back with Max Brown and the head coach Lincoln Riley, fresh off another victory. USC's head coach interview was presented by I Trust Capital. Retire with crypto. Coach, I was thinking back to one of the big talking points, something you brought up, a lot of people brought up going into the season, was that what a unique roster this was, a unique roster construction. So much would be determined by how quickly they could come together. Boy, they fought for each other on Saturday. If nothing else, you must have been really proud of that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was a challenging atmosphere. I said after the game, I gave the Oregon State fans and everyone there in Corvallis, a lot of respect, and it was the atmosphere was phenomenal, and it was a really tight football game, turned into a defensive slugfest, and yeah, we had to hang in there because there was definitely some frustrations on not being able to separate and certainly offensively not playing the way that we would expect to. And to see the defense play the way that we would expect our defense to play here at SC was awesome. And to see really just everybody, offense, defense, special teams, whether it's guys that were playing a lot of snaps or guys that weren't, like the positivity and the energy and the guys supporting one another like never left throughout the entire game, and it was important because you get in those environments and it's really, these guys have been there. It feels like just you against 1,000, right? You just kind of have that. It feels like everybody that's with you is right there on that sideline, and you're outnumbered, and you really got to band together in those moments, and the team did. Yeah, that's. A lot of teams, don't find a way to pull that one out, and we did. And I do think our togetherness and, like you said, willingness to fight for one another is a big reason why.
Coach, a grinder of a game, just kind of a fight out there between two teams trying to go after the Pac-12 victory there. What do you think the benefits are for your team to be in one of those kind of games early, in conference game, on the road? What did you pull from? What did you learn about your guys in that one?
Yeah, that we can win different ways. And you have to be able to do that. We've said it a couple of times on the show already. These games aren't all going to go just like the first few go. There's always some like this. And you look back at past history. Go look at previous championship teams, whether it's a national championship team or conference championship teams. You always look back and everybody thinks, oh, this was this great team. And
yeah, they just cruised to victory.
Yeah, and then when you go back and look, like I remember we did a deal a few years ago. I think it was when Clemson won I can't remember if it was their first or their second national championship, but we went back and watched and showed our team because they actually really should have got beat by NC State.
Yep.
There, and NC State missed a chip shot field goal to win the game, and they had another one early. I want to say maybe like Syracuse, maybe, and it was like really, really close and should have lost. It was like could have gone either way and was probably fortunate went their way, and then they go on and win the national championship. And so just to say that, yeah, if you're gonna try to win them all, and if you're gonna try to be a championship team, you're not gonna win the same way every week. And so I think the confidence to do that was that we were able to go do it was important.
For me, it was weird. We mentioned winning in different ways, but it was weird seeing your offense in a game like this not be the star of the show. And going back and looking at your losses as a head coach, even at OU, it's usually 38-34, 41-38, where you're in the 30s and it's more of a shootout. For you, did that feel like almost uncharted territory as a head coach, being in a low-scoring game that late?
We've had as many like that, but we've had a few. I certainly had to, as a play caller, certainly had to keep my patience as well. I think all of our patience got tested, and at times I think offensively we were all, me first and foremost, but all of us I think guilty of maybe losing our patience a little bit at times and trying to make a little bit too much happen. So, yeah, I think as you're calling plays, you're trying to get that done. But I think for the team, it was you got to have a feel for how these things are going, and just you could feel that both teams were struggling to score points and move the ball. Both defenses were playing well, and I think the fact that we held in there, didn't turn the ball over, had some patience. I felt like we would bust through at some point, and I hoped it'd come a little quicker than it did. But I really did. I felt like Oregon State's a really good defense, and they gave us some problems, but also we also created a lot of problems ourselves that I felt like we were going to get over it. And yeah, I think what patience we had did pay off in the end.
The story coming in, at least for your defense, was could they hold up against a great Oregon State run game? It felt like they, at least played even there. How did you feel on that side of the ball?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I thought we did a good job limiting the explosive runs. We had a lot of very minimal gains, and so I thought our gap control much better in this game. I mean, it was the best. It can get better, but it was certainly the best of this season up to this point. The only real negative, I'd say not only, but we had some things we got to do better, but we missed too many TFLs, right? We had guys wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage multiple times, and the 4 turnovers were huge, but we didn't feel like we did a good enough job in the TFL and the sack game, because that's something obviously we take a lot of pride in, and several of those that were 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 8 very easily could have been 2nd and 13, 2nd and 14, and we were right there. So we've got to finish some of those plays in the backfield.
Coach, you guys have done a good job taking care of the ball this year offensively. But then you watch the game sometimes, and I'm like, wow, we got Jordan Addison. Maybe we should force some of these balls. Where's the balance in offense when you want to take care of the ball, make sure you take care of it, but then you got guys who are down there, maybe hey, let's take a poke out there and see what they got back there.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a feel. It's a fine line, and some of it has to do again just with game situation and how the flow's going. So we certainly do have playmakers offensively that we want to get the ball in their hands more. Obviously, we ran the ball pretty decent on the night. Could have been a little bit cleaner, but we had some big explosive runs. Obviously, Travis had a big game for us, and. But yeah, I mean the throw game. I mean we had opportunities out there, and for many different reasons, we didn't take advantage of them. And the throw game really, until the last couple of drives, was very inefficient. And when you're that inefficient, guys aren't going to get those same opportunities. So we've got to be more efficient all the way around and do a much better job in the throw game to get those guys involved.
You talked about a road game in Corvallis. It's us against the world type of mentality, and it's from a media's perspective, it's easy to be like, oh, a win like that, it's going to bond the team and make the team closer. Is that just media talk, or do you feel that a win like that bonds the guys maybe differently than if you had won 37-10, so to speak?
Oh, you can look at it two ways. I mean, I think if your team's not close, you don't win anyway, right? We're not sitting here, with that win. Does going through experiences like that and does it bond you together even more? I think certainly it can, and I think it will our team. I mean, it was a really excited locker room after the game. The guys were, I think, just really genuinely happy for each other, and I think they understood that, even though we didn't play our very best as a team fully, that we had to gut it out, and we were able to do that. And I think they see more and more some of the things that we've been pushing behind the scenes are starting to show results on Saturdays, and they're getting, I think, a little more reinforcement as we go along that these things actually do work, and we've got to stay the course.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. And, Coach, I wanted to ask you about Alex Grinch, your defensive coordinator. I love listening to him talk to the media because he keeps it real. I mean, he is a brutally honest guy. What's he like behind the scenes as he has been trying to sort of mold this defense over the first month? What's that process been like for him, and what have you enjoyed watching him work? Yeah,
very similar. I don't feel like he's a guy that puts on a different face for different people. You kind of – what you see is what you get with him, and that's I think our players and our staff respond to that. I mean, he's a very consistent guy. He's got a high standard. He doesn't sugarcoat things with players, and I think they see him for that. I mean, he's real. If he doesn't like something, he's going to tell you. If he likes something, he's going to tell you. But it's always going to be very direct. And I think as a player, you always appreciate knowing where you stand, right? And knowing that the guy's going to be fair with you, and he's certainly those two things. And he's done a great job. I mean, we've had to move some pieces around. We've had to try to find the right combinations, and we feel like we're starting to get a better feel for our personnel and how we can utilize them and how we can attack people defensively. And I think we've said before, this guy's obviously done this many times. This is not his first time around the block turning something around. So, he and our defensive staff know what to do. And I think what our players are seeing is the more and more they stick to the script, the more and more they do exactly what they're being told to do, you're going to get more results like we did Saturday night.
Yeah, Coach, I thought defensively the best part was it wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just Eric Gentry having a big game. It wasn't just Mekhi Blackman. It wasn't just Shane Lee. It wasn't just Tooley. You got Stanley making plays. You had, across the board Sierra Wright. You had, just a multitude of players, and that's when you're playing defense, I think. But one of the cool things I thought about watching defense was the stem call you guys used in that first half and really got Oregon State out of whack, got some big penalties, put them behind the sticks a little bit. I thought that really set up. Was that something you guys are kind of waiting to use? Or I know Alex Grinch use that in the future. Is that something that you were willing to pull it out that week?
Yeah, it just ended up being a game we're able to use it some and thought it would come to our advantage. And, yeah, that certainly helps. I mean, it just makes us more multiple up front. I think Coach Grinch's mentality has always been the offense can move around. Why can't the defense do it too? And and which is, I think, a great way to look at things. And it's there's certainly challenges to it. And we've got a unique system and a unique way that we can do that for our kids. It makes it pretty simple for our kids, but not very simple on the offensive side. And again, when you get in a game like that where the environment's like it was, because it wasn't just loud when we had the ball. I mean, there was a pretty good buzz in the stadium all night, so that provided some challenges for the Oregon State offense too, even though you wouldn't typically think that would be the case on the road. And our guys did a good job executing it and kind of got them out of sorts a little bit and played to our advantage.
You mentioned offensively feeling like you were close to breaking through much of the game. Were there specific areas that you turn on the film like, we could have been better here? And then on the flip side, what did Oregon State do well defensively that gave you guys fits?
Oh, I've watched it about 5 times. I hope I don't have to watch it again for another 12 months. There was. I mean, just agonizingly close. I mean, just some of the small little things that we did a little bit better in the first 3 games that turned into huge plays that were – there's so many you watching that game that are just one tiny thing away from being huge, game-changing, drive-changing plays that we just didn't make very many of them in the first 3 quarters. We made our fair share in the fourth quarter, but it just we did the things that you can't do to play good offensive ball. We had crucial penalties. We had assignment bust. We admittedly didn't handle the crowd very well. I think not necessarily it was loud. I think it was a little unexpected, to be completely honest, with that full stadium. And we had talked to some of the previous opponents that had played there, but you're going to get a different opponent and a different vibe when USC comes into town. I mean, that's just, we've been used to that a little bit at the other place too. So that was something as coaches we didn't do a very good job getting our guys ready for. So you add all that up, and then on top of that, you're playing a good defense, right? And you're playing a group that does some really good things schematically. They've got a lot of good players. They've got a lot of experience, and they did what good defenses do. They make you earn it, and they didn't really give us any gifts. And then for a large part of the game, we did not play sharp enough to take advantage of some of the things that were certainly there.
Well, you're back at the Coliseum this week, a 7:30 kick. Our Trojan Tailgate show will go on at 5:30. We want people to tweet in questions, topics that they want us to cover during the show. So use the hashtag Trojan Tailgate Show. You can tweet us all week, and we'll get some of those tweets up on the screen and answer them throughout that broadcast. Welcome back on Trojans Live. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, and the head coach, Lincoln Riley, getting you set for USC versus Arizona State on Saturday night. Coach, obviously a big coaching change over at ASU. Does that complicate things for you, not necessarily knowing their tendencies if all of a sudden, new guys going to change some things up?
It can. No, it certainly can. We've, unfortunately, that's one of the tougher parts of college football, and nobody likes to see it, but I think all recognize it's just part of how it is right now. I've been in a few situations where we've had an opponent like this, and it can. I mean, I think you got to be ready. You got an opponent that's, a lot of times you switch some staff responsibilities around. Different head man in charge, maybe different parameters of what they're doing. So I think you certainly have to be on high alert for anything that could change.
Coach, when you play a team that not has nothing to lose, but they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. Probably they're going to let's give it all. Let's see what we got. Let's open some things up. They're going to dig back and find some plays. What do you prepare for? How do you tell your team what do you expect?
Well, I think a little bit to what when we were making the point about going into Corvallis is I think just an understanding when you sign up to play football at USC, you're not always going to see the same team on tape,
yep,
right, that everybody else sees. You're not always going to get the same energy and the same effort. People are going to raise their game. I mean, everybody either wants to play at USC or against USC, right? Like it's just one of those, yep, and it's just the way the world works. And so I think we've got to learn to anticipate that. Like, we're going to get teams' best shots. We're going to